Many people are satisfied with mediocrity, doing the bare minimum, just barely getting by, but that leads to a dormant life and a life filled with many regrets. So, how do you live an extraordinary life? How do you pursue greatness in the best way possible? Well, I got my notes right here. I got many certain different ideas to share with you today, and that is exactly what we'll be tackling today. How to live an extraordinary life, how to pursue greatness, how to be better, how to strive to be better and be a better person every single day, so that when you end your life inevitably in this world, you can be on your deathbed knowing that you did your best, you did your all, and you did more than so many others. So what you got to do, taking massive risks, taking massive action, trotting the beaten path, moving off of the standard way of living. I did exactly that when I chose to, instead of going to university, go to Portugal, pursue trying to become a professional footballer. That was me trotting the beaten path. That was me doing something different, taking a big risk, because I knew that if it didn't work out, well, I kind of am here where I am now, where I don't really have any direction right now. But it was a big risk. It was an important thing to do, and I do it all over again. But it makes me separated from a lot of people who just, blindly follow the same path. Go to high school, graduate, go to university, get in debt, get your diploma, then get some crappy job and pay off the debt, and whatever happens, right? That's the standard way. To be extraordinary, to be different, to be great, you have to take those big risks. You have to take a risk, especially if it's something that scares you. If it's something that internally you really don't want to do, you really like, oh, you don't know what's going to happen from it, you got to do it. If it's a business opportunity, if it's a relationship thing, if it's, a way to make money, or if it's a passion, a sport, the gym, whatever the risk may be, job, promotion, school, whatever it may be, take those risks, because a lot of people won't take the risk. A lot of people will let the fear paralyze them, and then you go back to mediocrity. But if you take those risks, if you push through the fear, and as a result just do these great things and do these big things, they might not work out, because that's why it's a risk. There's a chance of failure. But if you do succeed, it becomes something even greater. But even if you fail, there's a lot to learn from it. So don't forget that. Even if you fail, there is a lot to learn from a risk that you took that didn't work out. And you can use that to grow and grow stronger and be better in yourself. And that kind of ties into the next point, doing things that other people wouldn't even think of doing. So last night, it was a bit of a busy day. And at 9 p.m. thereabouts, I basically said to my family, all right, I'm going for a run. And they're like, now? And I was like, yes. So I went out for a run, and I went and I did my run. But they were, they were a little bit confused. They were like, really? You're doing a run this late in the day when tomorrow, is an early morning wake up and it's getting into the day again? And I'm like, yeah. And that's, what separates me from a lot of people, is that, admittedly I could be a little bit more consistent with my running and stuff, but when necessary and when it's time for me to do it, and when I say that I'm going for a run that day, and in the morning I said I was going to go for a run that day, but because of the way the day transpired, it didn't work out till 9 p.m. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to not do it. It's 9 p.m., but that's okay. So I go out and I do it, and I get it done, and I sweat hard, and I feel the pain, I feel the burn, and that's what's good. That's what makes you extraordinary. If you do things like that, the thing that kind of makes people confused, the thing that's like, okay, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Because, you look at it, and the way the world is now is so soft. You can easily just say, yeah, I won't go for a run. It's not going to be the end of the world. But that's what separates you. It will put you on another level mentally. Really, just living an extraordinary life, being extraordinary, being great, and being better in all that you do is a mental game. It's about mastering your mind. It's about not listening to your brain's lies that it tells you, that it tells yourself, not listening to the fears of your brain, and instead just going, acting, doing things that are special, that are different, that a lot of other people would not think of doing. And by extension, The more you do, the more you fall into those categories, the less people will understand you. Because there's a bunch of societal norms. And as you pursue greatness, and I've learned some of these lessons already, as you pursue great things, a lot of people will not understand you. A lot of people will criticize you. A lot of people will say, hey, what are you doing, man? You're doing this. Oh, you don't want to go to school. You're going to fail in life. That's a good one. That's a big one. For example, just as a way to think about it, right? But a lot of people will criticize you. But that's okay. Know that that's okay. If you're on a pursuit of something greater, a lot of people, most of the people that are criticizing you they have mediocre lives anyway. You can look at the substance of their lives and see how much regret they have, see how many mistakes they made, see how lazy they are, how little they actually do. And you can look at that and be like, that's okay. It's okay that you don't agree with me because I'm not you. And that, again, it's the insecurity of a lot of people that they want you to be like them because they know they've had a bad life so far in their run. And so they want you to stoop down to their level. But you know that on your pursuit of greatness that you are going to lose a lot of people because the people don't align with your goals and they don't align with the things that make you great because they don't do it themselves. They want to drag you down to their level. So just know that that's okay. Know that less people understand you, especially as a societal norm, that there are certain things you have to fall into. And if you don't fall into them, it becomes a problem with people around you. So just know that that's fine. On the pursuit to being extraordinary, that's absolutely fine, absolutely normal. And it's actually a good thing. The more people you see questioning you, the more people you see that criticize you for what you do, for a certain decision you make, for certain pursuits you go on, the better it is for you. The better it is internally that you know, okay, that's good. That means, this person who you love because they're probably a family member or a close friend and you appreciate them, but you know that you don't want their life, you want something better. It's good that they're against you because that means if they're against you, that means you're on the right track. That means you're going in the right direction. You're moving in the right direction. So just know, the less people understand you, the better when it comes to pursuing greatness and going to go and get those extraordinary things. And of course, on the pursuit to being extraordinary, it's doing the things that you don't want to do. I touched upon it a little bit earlier. It's when you actually don't want to do them, it'll benefit you. Going for that late night run will benefit you. That waking up super early in the morning, even if you hate it, that's something that really plagues me is getting up early in the morning. I hate it. I'm not really a morning person, but I do it anyway because, even if no one is really checking me, even if, it'd be easy to just fall back into bed, I look and I say, no, it's better for me on this pursuit to being extraordinary to get up, to go, to do my workout, to record this episode of the podcast, and to do the work I need to do for the day and get it done in the morning. And it's because I don't want to do it that I go out and do it. And that is the idea of pursuing the extraordinary. It's doing the things that you don't want to do, suffering the things that you don't want to suffer. And of course, just pushing through it, forgetting about your brain's stupidity. Just know that your brain will try and stop you. Your brain is lazy. Your brain is purposefully made to be limited in its power and in its understanding. So it's up to you to push through. It's up to you to realize, okay, I'm fearful of this thing, so let's actually go and do it. Just forget about all the thinking. Don't overthink anything. Just go and do it. Take massive action. Back to the first point, take big risks. And you will separate yourself from the majority of people because of just doing these simple things, which is just to ignore the feelings of your brain and go out there and do those things. Because at the end of the day, they will benefit you in the long run anyway. They will benefit you in your life and it will make you a better person, regardless of if it works out or not. It'll make you a better person regardless. And it'll make you someone that pursued something and pushed through your fears when the other person, the people criticizing you perhaps, didn't do any of that because they were too scared. So you pushed through that boundary, that barrier, and as a result, you came out even better, even stronger, and with an even stronger mind. You're building your mind. You're building your mentality. You're pushing through your brain's own fog and its own doubts so that you can truly be better because it will benefit you in the long run. That is the pursuit of being extraordinary. The things that you don't want to do, the things that will separate you from many of the other people that are mediocre, that you don't want to really be attached to anyway, and coming out as an even better person regardless of the outcome of certain situations, certain risks you take. Obviously, only you know what the big thing in your life is, but think for a second, right? I'm going to make this a little bit more interactive. Think for a second. Write it down if you have to. What's one thing that you want to do? That's something that you kind of want to do and it's in the back of your head, but you're a little bit scared because you're scared of failure or you're scared of the unknown. You don't really know what's going to happen. You're scared of criticism. What's that one thing that you're putting off? One thing that you're kind of procrastinating on that you want to do? And once you have that in your head, it should be obvious. The next step is action. Go out and do it. It will separate you from many others if you do actually decide to go out and do it. Because many people will have these things that you're thinking of right now, and they won't do it. They'll choose not to because of their fear, because of the paralysis that fear brings, and the comfort, of course, of turning around and seeing that your life's perfectly fine, right? Know this: your family will always love you. Most of you, unless certain situations happen, most of you will always have a place to stay at the end of it all. You'll usually have food on the table, right? And there's always the comfort to come back. There's always the comfort to say, yeah, it's okay. I can sleep in a bit. Yeah, it's okay. Let's play some video games. Let's waste some time. That comfort and that idea to go back to that is always there. It'll always be there. And that's the problem with the world, is a lot of people just succumb to that. A lot of people just submit to that. But if you want to be extraordinary, you cannot submit to any of that. I'm in favor of enjoying your life. You should absolutely find the places to enjoy yourself. But on this pursuit of extraordinary, there's not a lot of time for that. Especially when you're pursuing these big things that you're fearful of doing, you have to give 100% effort to all that you do. That's another point of being extraordinary. 100% effort. You don't just give 40%. David Goggins, he talks about the 40% rule. The idea that even when you feel you're at 100%, you can always give a little bit more. And that's the type of state you have to enter, whether it be a physical challenge or whether it be something mental, intellectual, like studies or a job or whatever it may be. Whatever the big risk or whatever the big thing that you're fearing may be, you have to give absolutely 100% effort to all that you do. To all that you do. And you have to ignore the crap, ignore the BS, ignore the comfort, ignore the idea that you can always go back to the comfort. Don't think about that, because that's the problem with the world, is that exists and it's easy. But where the growth is and where being extraordinary is in the difficult. It's in the suffering, it's in the hardship, it's in taking risks, it's in doing things you don't want to do. It's in pissing people off, it's in getting a lot of criticism, it's trotting the beaten path. So there you go. That was a bit of an analysis of, I just gave an accidental analysis on the points I just reiterated, but there you go. That's exactly it. That's the exact basic formula for being extraordinary, is doing those difficult things. And the next point, consistency in your growth is key. Life is about constant growth. Never stay where you are. Never stay dormant. Never stay stagnant at where you are. Always find something to be better in. Hone your skills in a better way in some aspect. Because you can look at your life in any situation and say, okay, I can do better here. Okay, I don't know. Let's take the physical example, because that's something that relates to me. Okay, my cardio is a little bit off. I feel like I'm getting a little tired a little quick. Let's go for let's go for a little bit of a running training. Let's start a little training regimen to get my cardio back up to a good standard. That's just a small example. Always finding something to grow from. Always finding something to do better. Okay, you took this big risk. It didn't work out. What can you learn from it? That's the point of making mistakes. In life, you will 100% make mistakes. And on this pursuit of being extraordinary, that's probably something you should note down. You will always make mistakes. So what do you do after the mistake? Do you just sit there and let it happen again? Or do you actually go in, thoroughly analyze why that mistake happened, what caused you to do it, and how to improve and grow from it and avoid doing it in the future? And that's the growth. And that'll make you a better person right there and then. Just taking a few minutes and off of something that happened and taking a look at it and taking a deep look at yourself and figuring out truly, what went wrong. And figuring that out helps you move in the right direction. So remember, life's about constant growth. To being extraordinary, you have to always keep moving. You can never be stagnant. Even if you make it to the tippy top, you think you have it all, you make millions, you have a fit body, you have a beautiful wife, whatever, and you have a great relationship with God, good faith, right? And you have everything, right? You could have everything and still be mentally and internally frustrated. You have to always look for that next thing to grow, that next thing to do better. It doesn't have to be crazy, but it has to be, you can start super small. Sometimes it starts super small. It can be exponential growth. If you're where you are right now and you're in a bad moment, you know that you fall into these mediocre traits and these mediocre issues, or maybe you're a little overweight, or maybe you need to make some money and you don't really know what to do, or you don't like to consistently do work. Trust me, I have a couple of these issues sometimes as well. You can start small and scale and grow, because it starts with the first step. It starts with the first step on this path to being extraordinary, the choice that you say, I don't want to follow the same thing that everyone else is following. I want to do this. It's that choice. And the second you make that choice, that is the first step to pursuing something better, something greater, something extraordinary in life. And once you make that step, you can make some small adjustments, small changes, and slowly scale, and then it will be exponential. You will see that your mentality, the more you challenge yourself, the more you push yourself, the more you push through fears, will have you grow and be even stronger. So back to that, it's about constant growth. Even if you're at the top, if you're at the bottom or at the top, you have to find a way to do better in some certain aspect. Hone your skill in some certain way. And a saying that David Goggins said, again, second time I'm talking about him, but he is the blueprint for doing extraordinary things, trotting the beaten path. You don't have to destroy yourself like him, but he is the example to follow when it comes to being extraordinary and, pissing people off, right? And doing things no one would ever think of doing. But he says, peaceful but never satisfied. And that's the kind of mentality you have to have. You shouldn't disrespect people because they're mediocre and you want to do something better. Don't disrespect them. Don't hate them. Don't show resentment for people because you don't agree on where you want to take your life paths. Absolutely not, right? That's what God teaches. Do not do that. Love your brother as yourself, regardless of which way you're moving in life, which direction you're moving in life. Try and help him to do better in his life as well. This person, hypothetical person that's criticizing you for your journey. But never be satisfied. Be peaceful, right? Don't cause fights because of your journey to the extraordinary, but also never be satisfied. It's also finding a way to grow all the time, regardless of what stage you are in your life. Because if you be satisfied, and I might learn this in the future, but this is what I've seen, this is what I've experienced so far. If you work and you work and you work your whole life, and then you make it to the top, and then you say, hey, I'm going to retire and I'm just going to have a bunch of money in the bank, I'm just going to live my life where it is now and enjoy myself, you won't find fulfillment in that, because the fulfillment is kind of in the work, it's in the pursuit, it's in the journey, it's in the growth. The second you say, all right, I'm retiring, even if you retire early because you think, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money and then I'm going to retire for 50 years, you don't have any life growth and fulfillment in that, because you're not doing anything fulfilling. You're not doing anything that's pushing the boundaries of your mind. That's what helps you feel that fulfillment in your life. That's what helps you have less regrets. The more comfortable you are, regardless of where you are, if you decide to get comfortable and stay satisfied at the top, or you've done it at the bottom because of all the things and the temptations that are here at this level as well to keep people at the bottom. Regardless of what stage you're at, if you stay stagnant, you won't feel fulfilled, and you definitely won't be extraordinary. So continuing to be extraordinary is to continue to pursue greatness, regardless of how high you end up, and to never be satisfied with where you are. Always finding something new and something different to pursue and to improve and hone your skills. And it's about, of course, the consistency of it, living the ethos every day. It's not about just doing it one day and then maybe going a week without doing anything, and then one day you go for a run because you're incredibly motivated. That's not the ethos of extraordinary. It's doing it every single day consistently. It's working on your pursuits every single day consistently. It's working out every single day consistently. If it's a run, it's going for a run every single day consistently. And that's where the growth is in the consistency. Doing it one time, it doesn't stick with you. I went for a run one time, and a few weeks ago, it was the first time that I had ever run a 5K without stopping in under 25 minutes, without stopping at all, and I was just running, jogging. Right, it was a good pace, good time. It was the first time I did that, and at the end of the run, I actually threw up because I pushed myself to that point. Now it's still stuck with me, and that was the first time I actually threw up because of how hard I worked physically. But if you do that only one time in your entire life, it's not going to sit with you. If you push to that level every single day, it doesn't have to be physical, it can be in anything else. If you push to that level every single day, it will stick with you, and it will actually hit you deeper mentally to the point where it will cause you to grow, and it'll cause you to do more, and it'll cause you to be greater. So it's about the consistency of it. It's living the ethos every single day. And I'll be humble and I'll say, I admit that, last couple of weeks I haven't really been living the ethos, but I've been slowly getting back up to it, and I've been slowly building myself back up to that level of consistency. And hopefully in a couple of weeks from now, I'm actually in that zone. I'm actually in that level of consistency myself. And just know that things will not be easy. There will be setbacks. There will be things that maybe stop you. Like, if your pursuit's a physical pursuit, you could have a big injury, and that completely throws you off, right? You have to find a way to get back, right? You have to find a way to, when you get back, it's going to be hard to get that consistency back up. It's going to be hard to reach the level you were at previously, just as an example, right? With the physical, because that's what relates to me. So I'm using that as an example, of course. So as a result, it's going to be hard for you to get back. You're going to probably feel a little bit more lazy because you spent a lot of time, resting because of your injury, right? Especially if it's something serious like a knee injury where you have to take many months off. But the point is of that example is sometimes you're going to be thrown off. On this pursuit to extraordinary, it's not going to be perfect. As I said before, you're going to make mistakes, but there's going to be things you can't control that happens where you will be thrown off. So it's about, even when you're being thrown off, even when you're at your lowest, even when you feel like you can't find the energy, you have to find that energy somehow. You have to bring it from somewhere. And the way I do it is I use the power of God to fuel me in that moment of desperation. Because, as God says, his strength is made perfect in weakness. So when you're at your lowest, God will build you up. But you can find that strength from anywhere. Find that motivation and that power to push through even the worst situations from anywhere you decide to find it from. Anywhere you decide to pull it that will help you mentally be stronger, it works because it will allow you to push even through the worst of the worst situations to continue living that ethos every day, regardless of how bad things might be. And the last main point of being extraordinary, living an extraordinary life, is you have to fight for being in that top 1% of whatever you're doing. Getting into the top 10% is super easy in today's world. Being in the top 10% of people in this world, let's say from a physical standpoint, all it is working out for an hour, 3 days a week, and maybe going for a 5-minute walk every day. That is top 10% in the world. Like, that's, not enough to be extraordinary, but that is barely any exercise. And that is, like, for perspective, I've had days where, I've had, 14-hour weeks, 16-hour weeks when it comes to exercise. Of course, I was trying to be a footballer. I was working hard in that way, right? So I've had 14 to 16-hour weeks of just exercise, of just physical training, working for football. So to say, 3 hours a week, an hour a day for 3 days, and some walks, that puts you in the top 10%. That tells you just how little people want to do these things. That's an example of, and it can apply to any other pursuit or aspect of your life. That's just an example of how easy it is to be great nowadays. How many people fall to the comfort. How many people get tempted and, be lazy and they don't actually go out and pursue these things? So the point I'm making here is the top 10% is super, super easy, right? I'd probably say I'm there. I'd say I'm there pretty comfortably because of the things that I've done in my life. But and physically, probably I'm in the 1% for like physical training specifically. But that top 1% is just a little bit harder. It's easier than it's ever been, but it's still much harder. You don't want to be top 10, you want to be top 1 or even top 0.1%. But like in terms of, strong-minded, extraordinary, successful people, right? In whatever pursuit it is. Success doesn't have to be money. Success can be anything you really choose it to be. It can be money or it can be anything you choose it to be. But you have to fight for the 1%, not the 10%. A lot of people are okay with the 10%, but I've just told you how easy it is to be in the top 10% of people. So you have to fight for that 1% or even the 0.1%, which means you have to push for constant mastery of your skills. Whatever thing you're trying to be better in, you have to always push to improve your skills and everything. For me, I'll give the example of the fact that I'm starting to run a business. Not this podcast, something else that's on the side and on the back end. Pushing for constant skills mastery. I have to improve my ability to market, to write copyright, and to sell stuff, sales. In sales is a great example to say that you never actually are a perfect salesman. You never know how to get through every single situation and manage to sell every single product. That's not possible. There's always something that you can do. Be like, okay, what did I say here that turned them off? What did I say here? Or what was my attitude or my cadence that made the proposition a little bit less attractive? There's always something you can kind of pick at and improve. And that's what you have to find in your life. You have to find those things that you can always look at and improve to pursue mastering your skills. And that'll bring you into the 1%. And henceforth, by extension, making yourself extraordinary. And of course, you have to work harder than anyone else. It's all about hard work. It's about how much stress you can tolerate. And it's about how many hours you're willing to put into this. You're willing to put into this. Is it, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, arguably, 15 hours a day? How many hours are you willing to put into your pursuits? How many hours a day are you willing to actually give your all on certain things, in certain pursuits, in certain situations? How long in a day are you actually willing to do it? You have to ask yourself those questions. Again, interactive part of this podcast episode. Ask yourself those questions. How long are you willing to work every day to pursue this big thing that you want to go and get? And that's what will separate you. That is what will separate you from the rest of the people. That is what will separate you make you go from top 10% of people to top 1% and even beyond, is how willing you are to put the work in, how long you're willing to actually grind for, right? Not just hours and days, but how long in terms of months and years are you willing to work 10 hours a day, right? How many days in a row can you work 10 hours a day until you don't want to go and do it anymore. You don't want to go and work anymore. Just as an example, right? Let's say, for business, that's exactly the type of stuff you got to do. You got to put in those long days if you want to have any sort of success in business pursuits, in making money. You have to put in those long days. People online, they talk about, work for 2 hours a day and make all this money. It's all crap. It's all scam, or maybe not scam, but it's all scummy and it's all shammy. It's not really the truth. And as with business, the rest of life, everything else applies. You have to know how many hours you're going to put into it and how many days, weeks, months, and years can you put that number of hours in. And the higher that number is, the longer you're willing to go, the more consistent, again, remember the previous point, the more consistent you can be with how many hours you put in is what will separate you and make you put in the top 1%. So that is that. I think that is a little masterclass on what it means to truly live an extraordinary life, doing better and doing greater, bigger things than a lot of other people. I think I touched upon every point. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list. There is probably there are probably a lot more reasons to be extraordinary. There are a lot more things that are included in being extraordinary, but this is maybe a start for you. So the best way you can start is what I said earlier. Whatever you are looking at in your life, whatever thing you feel like you want to do, but you're a little bit fearful of it, go out and do it, and give as much effort as you possibly can to it, and work as many hours as you possibly can on it, and focus on consistency. And one last thing before I wrap up is to say that inconsistency, it'll be hard. The worst part is those first couple weeks. But once you get into that habit of doing the work every day and you get into the routines of actually, putting in more effort, you will find that you'll start scaling more. You'll find that you'll start exponentially growing even more. Once you get through those first couple weeks of doubt, of fear, of guilt, and of peer pressure from other people telling you not to do certain things, not to take those risks, it'll be the hardest in the first couple weeks. It's not meant to be easy. The pursuit of extraordinary is not meant to be easy. That's why it's valuable. That's why it's valuable to live a life like that, a life that's extraordinary, a life that's filled with fulfillment and I wouldn't say satisfaction, but the pride in the fact that you were able to push so much harder than other people. It is found in the difficult things. It is not meant to be an easy thing. And if you think it's going to be easy, well, this pursuit of something extraordinary is not for you. It's meant to be difficult. It's difficult on purpose because that's why so few people actually achieve it.